What I have been doing for the last 20 years now is stories on stage, starting with Ismat Chugtai, who I discovered very late. And I can never stop kicking myself for it because I spent 2 months with her in Lucknow shooting Junoon. That was the time when I was a method actor and I was involved in my part, and I'd grown my hair. This ferocious Pathan all the time. And Ismat Appa was the most gossipy person I've ever met. And I wasn't interested in these conversations. But she would often corner me and start asking me about my family. And I'd get irritated and say, I don't want to talk about my family. No, he says, nahi, better. And seem to be from very similar backgrounds. If you've ever read Ismat Chugtai, there's backgrounds that she writes about. Though she grew up in Jodhpur, and I lived a lot of my childhood in Ajmer and in Meerut. And I'm from a somewhat feudal family. And she often writes about such people. And I found her stories absolutely fascinating. I read them much later. She never once talked about herself. She never asked me if I'd ever read anything of her work or if I knew about her or anything. She didn't want to know because she could read me, you know, and I knew nothing about her. So I didn't really gain much out of that 2 months. And after she died, I walked into a bookshop once, and this was quite amazing. The first book I saw was a book of Ismat Chugtai's story. It was staring at me, like this. Okay, you have not read me yet? And I said, sorry, Ismat Appa. And I picked up this book and I could not put it down. It was in English translation. I never realized how bad the translation was until I read the originals. But even in that bad translation, I was just mesmerized. And I said, she's talking about me. She's talking about my family. I know this guy. I know this woman. I don't read Urdu as well as I read Hindi. So luckily she's been printed in Hindi as well. And I got hold of a book of short stories. And some of them were the ones I read in English. And the moment I read them, I said, this has to be done on stage. I can do it. Even Ratna, who supports me in everything I do, said, who's going to understand this language? Who's going to come and watch this? You telling a story. And I said, I don't care whether anybody comes to watch it or not. I have to do it. We opened this in 2001 and it's still alive. And every show we go is packed to the gills. And it is such fun.
Very nice.